This is okay. I believe that we're live. While I'm waiting for the folks out there to confirm, I don't see any comments or anything like that feeding through right now. So, oh, there we go. I think I see some comments. Let me know if the audio and everything is coming through to everyone. While we're waiting for that, I want to request that everyone goes to hankstrange.com. That's the best way to support us. Go there, sign up for our email list. You can also see all the different ways to support us. We've got like links to our merch stores, etc. Lola throws up deals on there. It's called Lola's Deals. She's got daily deals, all kinds of good stuff. If you need to buy something and you buy it through those links, you help us pay the bills around here. So I just want to point everyone in that direction. Also, you can check out Ballistic Ink. That's where you can get our t-shirts. Like I've got the Gun Nerd t-shirt and other things going on there. So you guys can check that out as well. All right, I think we're ready to go here. First of all, I want to do a big shout out to Harry's Holsters, the sponsor of our show tonight. Thanks very much to Harry's Holsters, makers of fine Kydex holsters. Shout out to Harrison out there. Thanks for the support. Okay, I think we're ready to do this. We've got the man, the myth, the legend hanging out with us right now, Reid Henrichs. Reid, you know we do jazz hands. Come on. I know you're a big tough guy. You got to do the jazz hands. But you listen, you got a man bun, so you could do jazz hands.
I don't have a man bun anymore, man.
Oh,
Reid.
what?
Look at my hair. It's too hot up here.
Breaking news. What happened to that thing?
Man,
Where
it's
has
been
it
gone. It's been gone for a while, you know.
Really?
I mean, I work on. Oh man, I've been working on the tractor. I've been working on everything. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's been so that must have happened because I haven't actually seen you in person in like 2 years. So that's happened in the last 2 years?
That's happened I mean, not that long. Well, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't keep a track on it,
Yeah.
but I just know that.
I mean, I'm not hating. I'm not hating. You know what I'm saying? You're still macho. You're still macho. You know, one way or the other.
Macho. I don't. That's a word I don't know too many people have described me as being.
Yeah.
But
Macho,
manly,
macho man, Reid Henrichs.
I almost wore that shirt. I've got a purple Macho Man shirt.
Oh,
I almost
you do?
wore it.
Oh,
Yeah.
Macho Man, Randy Savage.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's my boy. Okay, so listen, let's do this thing. We are live. I hope you guys have your big girl panties on. This is episode 539 of the Who Moved My Freedom podcast. The title is Responding to Emergencies with Reid Henrichs of Valor Ridge. Boom, there he goes. My friend of a long time. It's good to see you again. I know you were chastising me a little bit because I haven't been over to the Ridge to do some training in a minute. It's been crazy around here, man. But I miss Valor Ridge, you know.
Well, we've been very blessed.
Mm-hmm.
I've just been very blessed to have the kind of students that we've had and now we're on our 6th year. So
Wow.
It's pretty crazy. You blink and then life goes by.
Dude, 6 years already?
6 years already. Yeah.
No.
Yeah, 20. Yeah, we started 2015, so
Oh.
15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 2020.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. We're getting old.
I feel like I did when I was about 25.
You did?
So
Okay, good.
Yeah.
You're looking good. Looking good, you know.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling the best that I've had in years, and just really being able to do amazing stuff. And when you realize, when you first start a business, you realize it's like, oh man, this is a heck of a risk. But
yeah.
no, I've learned to just let go and trust the Lord, and just had amazing friends and amazing people in my life. So I'm just happy, man.
Amen, man. Amen. It is a tough thing when you do this and when you make like a big investment like you did in the Ridge. What is it? What do you have out there? Like 80 acres?
Yeah, 82 acres. Yeah.
82 acres. So much work. I mean, you were just saying I wouldn't recognize the place. There's so much work that's gone into it. What's the improvements that you've added in the last 2 years, man, since the last time I've been able to get up there and do something?
We widened the range. We added to our concrete up there about 10 to 5 yards.
Okay.
We've added more steel, more berm work. We always try to enhance the place and make it better for each class. I know I always do, and it's just constant improvements. And I mean, we added a shoot house.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
So shoot house, that's cool. So are you living full time on the range now, or
Oh yeah,
okay?
definitely,
Awesome, awesome.
definitely.
Did you
Yeah.
have you put up a video of a tour, like a range tour or anything like that? Have you had a chance to do any of that?
I haven't.
Oh,
I'm a
okay.
pretty I'm a pretty private guy, man.
I know.
I'm an introverted person in general.
Really,
Yeah,
really.
really. I mean, it's amazing. You'd be surprised how much energy it takes out of me,
Yeah,
to just do a
yeah.
class or even do a podcast.
Hmm.
I'm a very private person.
Hmm.
You know, I'm used to being in solitude, and that's where a
Hmm.
lot of the ideas come from. But
Yeah.
yeah, I don't know if I want to show a bunch of people a video tour of my place. Maybe that's for the students that come.
Oh, okay. You are a private person. I understand. Like, I know people are not going to believe this. I'm incredibly introverted.
Oh yeah.
I'm very, very introverted. Yes, I can get up. I can talk to people. I could do all that stuff. I'm kind of like a little bit outrageous and obnoxious, but for the most part, I'm a very, very introverted person. I do like one of the things, and I was thinking about you today because, so I put up this video yesterday called "Losing Out Friday," and we can get into that if you want to. And then when I was responding to some people in the comments of that, we were talking about freedom because that's basically what it is. It's about like losing our freedom. And I was telling them, like the fires of freedom have to be fed often, you know. And when I was saying that, I was thinking about you because I really came to like this. The fire is a powerful thing, and we've got a video I think where you and I were just sitting there like looking at the fire. I know that's a big deal for you. It's a big thing for you, and that like goes back, I guess, to the caveman days. Recently, like maybe a couple of months ago, Lola and we were working on my property, and for the first time, I made my own fire out there, man. And Lola and I were just sitting around the fire, and I was like, this is really powerful, just sitting out here in the fire. And I really started doing that hanging out with you.
We've been doing this for thousands of years. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
when you sit out and burn wood that you cut or found.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, you're right about freedom. I mean, it is a fire. It has to be maintained.
Mm-hmm.
Benjamin Franklin always said a republic if you can keep it.
Mm-hmm.
We
Mm-hmm.
don't just get to sit back and be lazy, slothful people and do nothing
We
and
shouldn't. We
expect.
shouldn't. We should not
Yeah.
be. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's not what this country was designed for.
Mm-hmm.
This country wasn't designed for takers.
Mm-hmm.
This country was designed for hardworking, spiritual people
Mm-hmm.
for a higher purpose.
Hmm.
And I don't know in the history of the world that there's been a better country.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know anywhere else to go that would
I couldn't
equal.
think of one.
No, I mean,
Yeah.
there's nowhere else to go. I don't,
Yeah.
I wouldn't want to live anywhere else. I don't see myself living anywhere else. But what makes America what it is isn't the president. What makes this country great isn't even necessarily what's come before us, although that's a template.
Mm-hmm.
What makes this country great is, and I hate that phrase, like make America great again. Like America has never stopped being great. The only thing that stopped being great was the desire for people to remain free
Mm-hmm.
rather than comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
You cannot be. It's this weird dynamic. People need to understand something. You cannot be resting on your laurels and then say, "Oh, well, someone else will do it." Like look at how many people want to defer responsibility today.
Mm-hmm.
It's sickening. It's
Mm-hmm.
sickening. I would never ask anybody to do something for me that I'm not willing to do for myself or have done for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And when I look at about freedom and you talk about keeping that fire going, you have to tend the fire. You
Mm-hmm.
have to
Mm-hmm.
constantly tend it.
Yeah.
Well, you have to constantly tend freedom.
Mm-hmm.
This idea that we can sit back and expect other people to fix this for
Someone
us
will
is
do it
absurd.
for us. Yeah.
Yeah, or no,
Yeah.
if we just get the right people in office.
Mm-hmm.
The office is the problem.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that's the thing. You know what? That's an interesting thing that I don't. I know I don't talk about that a lot on the podcast, but the whole idea of make America great again. I know it set off a lot of people out there, and then at the same time, it kind of like I guess it inspired some people. Yeah, that's something I guess maybe we should talk about a little bit because I believe that you're right. America's always been great. I know that's a great rallying cry. It's a great thing. It brought Trump into the White House and everything. And I'm not mad at him about that, but I think it's true. America has always been great, and it doesn't mean that it's been perfect, right? That's the beauty of the English language. It doesn't mean it's been perfect, but it's been getting better. And sometimes some things have gotten worse, but we have to keep working on that. It's a lot like a fire, man. I hate to keep bringing that up, but I think that concept just like stuck in my brain, since the first time I came up there to train with you, and we, like, after a long, hard day out there training and shooting and talking to the people and doing all this kinds of stuff, you and I, like, stayed up, I don't know, till 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning just talking around the fire. And somehow that fire was, like, feeding our motivation to catch up with each other and talk about all these things, and we went to like deep places. There was no ganja or anything like that being smoked up there.
No, definitely not. I'm more of a moonshine guy.
Yeah. I didn't see any moonshine either, but yeah.
Well, you didn't ask.
Yeah. Oh, see. Well, I don't even drink a lot because I can't. If I would have had some moonshine, I would have been knocked out right there. You just have to throw a blanket over me. But what? So can we expand on that a little bit? Like, for the people who think, because I know some people got really upset on one side of the, if we think about the whole aisle thing in America drives me crazy, right? Left, right. So I know some people got upset about Make America Great Again, and some people got maybe like, I don't know. I don't want to say inspired, but we could say inspired by it. What do you really think about that whole Make America Great Again thing?
Well, I mean, you have to ask yourself, if the slogan's Make America Great Again, what was it that made it not great in his opinion? What makes America less is more government.
Right.
True. So the more government we have, the less great America becomes, because this country isn't about the government. I mean, our foundational charter, the Declaration of Independence, talks about the role of government, and the role of government is to protect our life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. Pursuit of happiness, of course, being our property. So our right to life, means we have a right to live our life and the right to protect it. Liberty, I mean, I don't know if anybody even understands what liberty actually is. Liberty is having a coercion-free existence. And, of course, the pursuit of happiness, Jefferson borrowed from Locke, his second treatise on government. He talks about property. Well, the right to acquire and improve property. So government is the only reason we give consent to government is to protect those three things. So what happens when they become the greatest violator of all three of those things, right? So that's what, to me, is what, I mean, the Declaration of Independence was such a radical document, and in many ways, I admire the Declaration of Independence far more than the Constitution.
Okay.
And it's not like I dislike the Constitution, but let's be honest, the purpose of the Constitution was to restrict and limit government. It's a blueprint against government.
Yeah. From the beginning, we were meant to have small government. I know. So, like, in this situation that we're going through right now, and even in this, when I was commenting or responding to comments, there was a guy who said, look, I understand what you're saying about freedom, but right now, with everything going on in the world, I'm really worried about this, and, maybe the government has to do something. And I was like, yeah, but, it's funny, like, when America fought for independence, right? George Washington could have easily become a king. Am I wrong about that? He could have easily become a king, but he decided not to. Because wasn't that the whole reason why we were doing it? So if there's something terrible happening and we have to fight back against it, which we're doing, the whole point of it is we're not fighting back against it so that we have more government or more people minding us and more rules and restrictions on us, right?
If people look at history honestly and they ask themselves this question, when does tyrannical government happen? Does it happen when people are unafraid and happy and prosperous and the economy is exploding and everybody's wealthy, or at least getting wealthier? Is that when tyranny happens? Or does tyranny happen when there has to be emergency powers granted to a small group of people? I look throughout history. I look at the excuses people made in the Roman Republic for Julius Caesar. And of course, it became the Roman Empire with Julius Caesar. Julius Caesar was loyal, to the Roman Republic, right? You shall not cross the Rubicon. It's forbidden for legions to cross the Rubicon. Well, it was until it wasn't. And then he declared himself dictator for life. I look at examples throughout history. I mean, look at what the entire Look at what the entirety of the Middle Ages was. It was crisis after crisis after crisis after crisis. Oh, we got to protect ourselves against the Vikings. We got to protect ourselves against the Muslims. We got to protect ourselves against other fiefdoms trying to overtake our power. So we're going to give our property, give our liberty, give up everything. That's the entirety of the Middle Ages. It's very general and oversimplistic, but that's what it was. Bring us into the time of divine right. In Europe, when the kings were given we're put here by God to rule. And so we're going to give up our freedom to this person who's this all-knowing, inspired by God person. All this and that. And of course, the Enlightenment. People have to remember about the Enlightenment. They look at this as glowing times when it was wonderful, but the same excuses were made during the French Revolution when they gave the Directory and Robespierre, and they gave all these people all these powers, to fix them. And it was an ever-changing situation. Oh, these people are dangerous. No, it's this group that's dangerous. No, it's this group that's dangerous. And in my lifetime, the narrative has changed. Growing up, it was the communists that were dangerous. We gotta spend a bunch of money to fight the communists. And then, of course, in 2001, it's the terrorists. And now that people are tired of that game, now that they're tired of all those games, what they're focused on right now is, we need to give government emergency powers to help this disease. And there's always going to be something government's going to use to frighten you so that you'll give up your individual liberty and expand their power. And usually that involves giving them money.
Yeah. I think so. Like in what you just said, right? Like you just asked a question, like, does it happen under prosperity when everyone's happy and making all the money and stuff like that? I agree with you. It doesn't happen, but that's how you always know when it's about to happen. Because here's what happens to people, right? If you have all this awesomeness and then there's an emergency situation that pops up, and you're like, oh, wait a second. Are you saying I'm going to lose all my awesomeness? Okay, go ahead. Take all the powers you need to make sure you preserve my awesomeness and I get to keep living, with all these great, awesome, wonderful things that we're all into. Like, I'm not even trying to tell anyone that I'm not materialistic. I think, everyone is. I have things that I like, we could sit here and enumerate. But I think that's always the setup that that, this is about to happen because everyone's doing really well and they're used to that doing really wellness, and then something comes up and they're like, oh crap, there's no way that we want to let this happen, and they give everything away to people, and those people never ever want to give that back.
It's amazing. It's amazing to me when we look at our forefathers, the people that built this country. It's not like they didn't know diseases. I mean, you're talking about, you're talking about these people. I mean, even if they didn't come directly from Europe, their parents or their grandparents could tell you that the bubonic plague wiped out 33% of the population there.
Oh, for sure.
When you're talking about other diseases that wiped out entire swaths of populations. I mean, it's quite amazing to me that people say, well, they couldn't foresee international travel. Really? I mean, how do you think all those people traveled around the world? I mean, do you think they just wished themselves away?
Yeah.
So it's this amazing thing. It's what it is disrespect of people in times past that had greater courage than we do. And I think there's a huge movement, and that's what a lot of leftists do is they denigrate the people that founded this country and said, oh, they were uneducated. And people don't realize Thomas Jefferson could write in 7 different languages. He could write in 2 languages simultaneously. He could write in one language with his right hand. He could write in another language with his left hand. He could do that simultaneously. He could write in Greek and Latin. He spoke 7 languages fluently. I mean, these are not dummies, that started this country. I mean, they were very well read. I'm not exalting them above anybody, but what I will say is that they had the courage to dare to bring about a different form of government. When people realize how radical, and I mean radical in a good way, radical is not a bad word. Radical is a very cool word in my vocabulary. When you look at how radical the Declaration of Independence was, rights don't come from government, right? Rights come from the creator of heaven and earth. Like, that's what our founders believed. And they believed it so much that they put it in our founding document of government. And what separates Western civilization from the rest of the world, Hank, and you have a unique perspective to speak to this. What separates Western civilization, of which we're a part of, from the rest of the world is this acknowledgement that our rights do in fact come from the creator of heaven and earth. They're not given out by government. And the whole purpose of government is to protect those rights. So when they start violating them, when they start violating them and continue to be the main antagonist that violates this, I've got a big problem with that.
Mm-hmm.
And the circumstances will always exist for government to violate your liberty. And if they don't exist currently, they will create a situation to where that's and I'm not a conspiracy person. I'm not this person that thinks there's this vast worldwide conspiracy to violate rights. I'm just saying I think people in politics are very opportunistic.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're very opportunistic because people usually will create what they seek is money, power, influence, and comfort for themselves. And I mean, you look at people in Washington, D.C., how many of them do you think would pass a regular drug test? I mean,
very few.
Let alone a psychiatric test.
Yeah.
These are true sociopaths. I mean, these are people that don't care about me or you or the foundation of this country. I mean, these are people that if they would take my high school history class would fail.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right?
I totally agree. Listen, going back to what you just said about our forefathers, I really believe that I think my parents were stronger and my grandparents and going back as we go back, they had to be. Right? They had to be. They had to be stronger people. They had to be more creative. They had to fight harder, work harder, right? All the time. And one of the things that's happening to us with technology, me included, what's happening is that because we have all this tech, it's all of a sudden like we have all this kind of time that we never had before. And we fill it with a lot of things, and almost in a way it's making us it's creating that situation. I don't think I agree with you that it's the politicians want to do it, but there's lots of things that are doing it to us.
Yeah, I mean, when we talk about generations of people, we got to be careful because there's really good people in every generation.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, in my parents' generation, of course, they're baby boomers and they grew up during the 50s, 60s, and 70s.
Mm-hmm.
Coming of age.
Mm-hmm.
Those people, there were very hardworking, good people in that generation.
Mm-hmm.
But then again, I mean, there's also the leftist, literally commie children, people that were in academia. I mean, those people were absolutely useless and worthless. They wanted an America that our founders never wanted. They wanted an America where government was big and, everybody could do whatever they wanted. And then before them, of course, people call the World War II generation the greatest generation. I disagree with that 100%. The greatest generation is what gave us massive deficit spending. The greatest generation is what gave us the New Deal. The greatest generation is what gave us 16 years of unfettered Franklin Roosevelt totalitarian government for 16 years, in which unemployment remained at 25%.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, you're talking about grasps of government power like you can't even imagine. And then their parents, of course, had Woodrow Wilson. That brought us the Federal Reserve Act. That brought us the income tax. That brought us prohibition. That got us involved in World War I. I mean, massive, massive international involvement against what our founders wanted. So I don't think that that's the greatest generation at all. I think our greatest generation is the revolutionary generation. But I'm going to say something that may shock a lot of people. I think our greatest generation is yet to come.
Okay.
I think our greatest generation is going to be people that recognize government isn't the answer.
Mm-hmm.
That we don't have to keep kicking our income to Washington, D.C. to spend and spend and spend and spend and spend. I mean, for God's sakes, I mean, what passes for a conservative now is what a democratic socialist was 3 months ago.
Mm-hmm. It's weird. It's weird how everything's upside down on its head.
And I don't care if people are offended that I'm dumping on the president right now. Whatever, get over it, man. I mean, I don't think that you should have subsidization of industries. I don't think a business is too big to fail. If you make stupid investments, when you make stupid decisions, you should fail, and we shouldn't have to foot the bill for that. Additionally, you got what a $1,200 check going to people. I mean, come on, man. There's a lot of people that are going to get money that never even kicked any money in to begin with. And I don't think that you should send money to D.C. and have them redistributed everywhere else. And I understand people are hurting, but why are they hurting? Can you imagine for the last 10 years if people could have kept the money that they earned without having to send money into the IRS? You think people would be hurting if they could keep the money that they earned for the last 10 years? Who's the greatest violator? So I don't think the solution is more DC, more government involvement, more deficit spending, more Keynesian economics. That's already been tried and failed many, many times over. I think that's a horrible idea. I think that's naive. And I think I wouldn't really take business advice from a guy who's declared bankruptcy 3 times.
It's a good business plan for businesses nowadays. Is how you do things, I guess. So here's the thing. One, we've got a lot of people watching. I would encourage everyone to smash the thumbs up. Welcome to all the folks who came over here because of Reid. We appreciate you doing that. You know, Reid shared this stuff, and I know other folks out there were sharing it as well. There's so many things to get into here. Like I don't even know where to start. But let's start with something that we're talking about right now. So there's all these things that they're trying to set up, right? In this situation that we're having that's an emergency, there's things that they're trying to set up. I think, we talk and we joke about the Trump money and all that. I've done it. I've joked about Trump money because people joked about the Obama money. I actually never got any of that money. Don't expect to get any of this money. But what are the things that you think we can see a lot of the stuff that they want to do? What are the things you think they could do that would actually make a difference here? Because we do have an opportunity from everything that's happening right now to change things. I'm not saying they will, but what directions would you go in?
Well, number one, just be honest about things. I mean, I remember a month ago, people were talking about, oh, this is going to kill 3 million people in this country. Mm-hmm. And then, of course, it became 1 million. Mm-hmm. And then it became 500,000. Mm-hmm. And then it became 250,000. Mm-hmm. And then today it's like 90,000. Mm-hmm. That to me sounds like a bad flu year. Mm-hmm. So, if you want to shut down the economy over this and do it, I mean, I understand there's at-risk people, man. Like, I get that the people 70, 75, 80 years old and older, like, I get that they've got issues. Mm-hmm. But when did it become that all of a sudden you're going to be expected to live to be 100 years old or 110? I want people to live as long as possible. Maybe we all live to be 120, right?
Right. But there's things killing people all the time, Reid. I mean, I think I don't want to get sick. I don't want the people I love and I care about to get sick and die. Unfortunately, that happens in life, as tough as it may sound. But, there's lots of things that people are dying anyway. People die in car accidents. There's people who don't even get a chance to actually live. Before they get a chance to come out of the womb and live in the world, they die.
Yeah, has anybody ever, I mean, and what I want to know is like, do people understand that more people die of medical malpractice every year than are projected to die from this virus? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Like, we don't shut down the country for medical malpractice. We don't shut down the country due to drunk drivers.
Yeah, people die because of cancer. They get cancer from the sun. Skin cancer, stuff like that. I mean,
it's amazing. And like, mm-hmm. I mean, people are like, well, what about Italy? Blah, 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 blah. Listen, I mean, first of all, Italy's socialized medicine. Like, that should tell you something. Mm-hmm. Like, Italy is socialized medicine. That's why people are dying there. They don't have enough resources because under socialism, everybody sucks and everybody's poor.
Yeah, there's lots of corruption. There's corruption in America, but lots of corruption. And then there were all these rules that who knows how long it took before they got it. Like, I've looked at I'm into cars, right? So I'll confess to that. But I've looked at car shows taking place in Italy. And literally the cops roll up on these guys, like if it's a Sunday or something like that, or a weekend, and they're like, hey, no one can work in Italy on this day. There's just things like that going on. So when you have places where people like, oh, no, we have to be on vacation right now, how are they going to react to things in time?
I think what it boils down to is like, do you want a society that's secure, or do you want a society that's free, mm-hmm. right? So you ask what can be done. Number one, get people back to work. Like the economic depression or the recession that's happening, all these people unemployed, mm-hmm. like that's not caused by the virus.
Mm-hmm. That's caused by the government. The government's admitting they're causing that.
Right. That's caused by the government. So in other words, if you go to work, you're going to be penalized. You're going to have to pay money, or you're going to have to do this and that.
Yeah. It's not even like the government's. You know what? I was thinking about this. So let's say we have a big problem, right? And so right now, let's say we accept it, that we need ventilators, we need masks, we need this thing, we need that thing. How is the solution telling everyone to stay home? How is that the solution? Like, those people who are staying home could actually make things. We could somehow do things and do something about this instead of staying home, twiddling our thumbs, looking at the news, getting even crazier because the media obviously is on board with all this and they're just like, pushing people more and more down, right?
Yeah, and then the wild thing is that eventually everybody's going to have to come out of their little cave.
Mm-hmm.
Everybody's going to have to come out sooner or later. We cannot indefinitely stay in our houses. Guess what's still going to be there? The virus.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's never going away.
It's never going away any
Yeah,
more than the
and I
Spanish
think
flu
it's been
did.
here. I think it's also been here.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's not
so
going away. If it's amazing to me how people will gladly sell their freedom away, will gladly sell their liberties away just for the illusion of feeling safe.
yeah,
I think really at this point, these numbers keep going down and down and down about the number of people killed. I mean, really, what we're at with even with the White House task force on coronavirus just came out today.
mm-hmm.
It's literally comparable, almost identically to a bad flu year.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't see. I think we'll look back on this, man. And I've told a lot of my friends this. I think people, when the smoke has settled from all this, people are going to look back on this as the greatest overreaction in our nation's history.
I agree.
And
with
what's going to be funny is people are going to say, "Oh, I never overreacted," and these are the same people cussing me out for running classes, right?
Yeah.
These are the same. And by the way, I had 4 physicians in my class last week.
Mm-hmm.
None of them are concerned.
Yeah.
So it's this amazing thing, and I just understand that yes, there are at-risk people, and if there are at-risk people, then why not have them be where
Identify them. Yeah.
Yes. And so it's amazing. So what can the government do? Get the hell out of our lives.
Yeah.
They only make things worse.
Mm-hmm.
They only burden us by either regulation or laws or taxation. I think they're despicable people. I think they're scumbag people, and I think that this government needs to be shrunk by at least 95%.
Yeah. I hope that's something that comes out of all of this. Somehow I doubt it. However, I think that from what you're saying, I think there's lots of like regular people who don't look at this thing so like we're gun guys and we think a certain way, right? We're very freedom oriented or whatever. But I've noticed my friends who aren't in those circles that all the folks listening here, we all think the same way pretty much. Like we've got our differences, but I've noticed the people in the outside circles, they're thinking like that. Isn't that why we've had these unprecedented spikes in gun sales? I mean, I think that they're saying like NICS checks in March were maybe the second highest ever.
Yeah, it's amazing how reality will get people to lose their false altruism.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, we don't need guns in our society, and then of course record gun sales now.
Yeah, yeah.
So where are all those like beta male individuals that said that we don't need guns anymore? They're the same people scrambling to buy the guns they didn't have the balls to buy before.
Yeah, wondering what happened to the gun show loophole that I could just come in here, pay some money for this gun, and walk out. What happened to that?
Oh, it was hilarious. I remember the first couple of weeks of this whole thing, maybe a month ago, and the people were stunned. They couldn't just go online and buy a gun and have it shipped to their door. What? You mean I gotta go through all this rigmarole?
Yes.
And it's like, I don't think you and it's weird because they act like they know what they're talking about. Like, and this is so many people. They act like they know what they're talking about when it comes to firearms. And I'm just like, listen. I mean, I'm sorry that. Look, I think everyone has a God-given right to buy a firearm to protect you and your family. Like, there's no question. I don't even think there should be a freaking background check system. The NRA caved on that in '94.
Mm-hmm. It doesn't make any. What difference does it make?
Right. You're seeing it right now that government isn't even during times of emergencies. Government isn't evil. They are evil, but they're not even able to staff the background check system. So people are being denied, the ability to purchase a firearm. So it's like, in good faith, they go to the gun store, fill out the paperwork, and then government is unable to provide the service that they said they're going to be able to provide. And so it's this unreal thing where, what if you're a guy that's never been into guns before and you want to go out and buy a gun? Now you can't, even though you've gone through the steps. You have the capital to do it. You have the money to do it. You have the desire to do it. The gun store owner wants to sell it to you, but it's the failure of government. So we have this third-party failure, this third-party transaction that has failed to uphold its end of the bargain. And I think if you're going to find throughout history, government has failed to live up to its end of the bargain over and over and over again, to the point where I'm really contemplating. I mean, I don't know if I can send my income tax in next year. I mean, because if they're not going to provide normal functions, which is protecting other people's liberty and lives, why should we continue funding them?
How else are they going to get money other than make it up? I mean, this is the crazy. Once we got into the system in America where this is just, I'm obviously not a history teacher like you are or were, right? You still are. You're still teaching people history. Let's be honest about it.
I teach more people history now than I did in high school and college.
Yeah, you're always teaching me stuff. But there was a time when people got all their money, did what they needed to do with their money, and then they had to give it to the government, right? And then one day they were like, wait a second, if we this method allows people to have their money and do whatever, and then we don't get it, which is actually good. That's the whole point, right? So they decided to take it out of people's paychecks, so the people who are getting paid on a regular basis, it comes out, and then you have to fight with the government to get your money back from them, right?
Yeah, and you can see that our adventurism overseas, especially in Europe and post World War I and post World War II, our adventurism directly coincides with the income tax. The income tax was written, the 16th Amendment, 1913, in conjunction with the Federal Reserve Act. It's this amazing thing that people need to understand that it was originally sold as only affecting the wealthy. This will only affect the top 1% of 1% of wage earners, and we're only here to tax the really rich people like the Rockefellers and the Vanderbilts and the Carnegies.
The government never sees their money. Never ever see that money.
It was all about like envy and covetousness.
That's how they convince you. They convince you that it's not
the rich guy pay.
Yeah, it's not you. It's your neighbor. Yeah.
No, it'll never affect you. And so then once they get their toenail in, once they get their toenail in the door, you already got an 8 deep home invasion about to happen to you. So I don't entertain any of their BS rhetoric. I don't care who's in charge, whether it's Republican or Democrat. I don't entertain them. They don't give a crap about you. And I don't care how funny or how awesome rallies they have or what they promise their little like lower echelon of society, how freebies they promise them. I don't listen to them because my heroes, all of them are dead and gone, man. All the people that built this country, that fought on battlefields, that fought against tyranny, like every single one of my heroes is gone. When you look at this society, I mean, I did a video, I just released it this morning. If these idiots in Washington D.C., whether they be Republican, Democrat, I don't give a crap. If they would have brought these ideas up before like Thomas Jefferson or Benjamin Franklin, like they would have been laughed out of the halls of Congress. Like they would have literally been, like, and not just laughed. I think they would have probably been incarcerated for violation of the Constitution. And so like you get guys out there that are just this, it's an amazing thing. I go to work, I work hard, I maintain my property, I teach, I've sacrificed a lot for this country. I've sacrificed personal time and energy and all this. And as everybody, I'm sure a lot of the guys watching, gals watching this podcast, I think we realize that the answer isn't just voting your guy into office. I mean, with this guy in office right now, we've got gun control. We've got deficit spending every single year to $1 trillion+. Now we're at a $2.2 trillion stimulus, which is 100% more than Barack Obama did in 2009. And by the way, and not just in that 2.2 trillion, there's an additional $5 trillion in loans authorized.
Yeah, and we have everything at a standstill.
Oh, nothing.
We have everything at a standstill from a guy who, like you said, is supposed to understand business. If you understand business, why is everything at a standstill? This cannot continue. Maybe some big businesses will make it through this. Of course, if they get bailed out, they get money, they're going to make it through it. What about the little businesses? Like, what about my barbershop that's literally downstairs from this building that he was forced? He cannot cut anyone's hair. He cannot do it.
Well, you got your truckers. These are all professions I respect. You got your truckers. You got your service industry, like your waitresses, waiters. You've got your master chefs. You've got your people that go out and teach people. You've got your auto mechanics. You've got there's so many professions that I respect. Look at me. I mean, I employ 5 people, right? So I employ 5 people. If it would be up, if I lived in a leftist state, and thank God I don't, I live in Tennessee, but if I lived in a leftist state, they would say, nope, you can't conduct classes. You can't do it. You can't bring people from all over the country. That would be 5 people that can't provide for their family. And some people really need it, Hank. I've got a guy.
Oh, I know.
I've got a guy who's out of work. He's got a wife and 2 kids. He really, has told, and it's amazing how important that we all are to other people. But it's like I'm not in business. I'm not in business to be this guy that is a laundromat for money. I'm a guy that's here to make money so that I can provide jobs to other people, right? And there's a lot of people in that situation, right? There's a lot of people in that situation. But if it gets to the point where they're like, okay, well, you can't make any money, Reid. You got to kick more money upstairs. And by the way, we're raiding your IRA, and we're raiding your, your SEP, and we're raiding your income tax. And by the way, we're gonna jack that. And by the way, I get self-employment tax, so they're gonna jack my self-employment tax up to 75%. You know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna teach classes by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I really don't want to
Yeah.
do that
Yeah.
at all. I want to have 2 or 3 other guys on the line with me,
Mm-hmm.
because I know that what I do, I kick a little to them so that they can have a better life.
Yeah. And
You know?
that goes all around, right? It makes it easier for you, makes it easier for them, makes it easier for your students. I mean, one thing is that I guess Homeland Security came out and declared that the industry, trainers like yourself, manufacturers, etc., are essential people.
It takes a crisis. It takes a crisis to figure out that people like me are essential, that gun owners are essential, that rangers are. It takes this to figure that out.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure that was written in 1789.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Definitely all of these people who are out there, new people, but because I know what you're going to say, but we all need to be training. Yes, that's true. I'm sure you're going to, I'll let you say that. But there's a lot of new people coming online with guns, with firearms, right? And they definitely need some training, So it looks like you got a special. What's up?
This is my buddy Tyler, man. He's helped me out on the range as well, and he's one of those guys I'm telling you about.
Mm-hmm.
He's a guy that he looks at this profession, he looks at this industry as being essential, not because the president or Congress and anybody said so, but because he recognizes the importance of getting this information out. You can say hi, man.
Yeah. What's up, Tyler? Shout out to all the people out there. If there's anyone out there that knows Tyler, say what's up to him.
Yeah. It's what I'm saying is that he's a former Marine right here,
Okay, awesome. Semper Fi.
Semper Fi, man. And he's one of these guys that recognizes giving back to the country, but if it was up to the government, if it was up to people like Nancy Pelosi, or if it was up to people like any other scumbag rhino Republicans, this guy here wouldn't be having he wouldn't be able to help me. He'd be in his house, scared to death and just kind of like, quivering in the fetal position. And that's not what we need right now, man.
Yeah, I don't envision a lot of Marines ever quivering in that fetal position. I know a few of them. Yeah, so let me ask you this question. Why is it even up to those guys? How come it's not up to us?
Well, it is up to us, man. It's like, really what it is like, how much are you willing to put up with? For me, if I see some like, and pardon the language, guys, like child alert here, I normally don't do it, but if I see some numbnuts Barty Fife, telling me I can't conduct classes, okay, well, what are you going to do about it?
Yeah.
Are you going to force me to close down? Are you going to draw your gun on me? Are you going to shoot me?
Yeah. Reid, I would like to see someone even roll up on you in where you're at in the mountains. I'm not even sure how the hell that happens.
Dude, it's one of these things where like, okay, I'm a nice dude, man. You know me, Hank. You know me for like 6, 7, almost 8 years now, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, I'm a nice dude, man. Like, I'm not this person that goes out of my way to figure out trouble. I'm not this guy that goes out of my way to cause conflict. But if you mess with my Constitution, right, and you mess with my Bill of Rights, and not just mine, I'm saying my as in the collective, all of us. You mess with the ability to earn a living. You mess with the ability to live your life according to free principles that our founders fought and died for. We're going to have serious problems, because you can pass all the laws you want to. The legislative branch can pass all the laws. Even the idiotic judicial branch can say, oh, you've got to conform to this. It's like Andrew Jackson said, the Chief Justice has issued his opinion. Now let's see him enforce it. So, I mean, this is for law enforcement out there. I'm former LE, I'm former law enforcement. I mean, a lot of guys on my cadre are like JJ and Clay. These are guys that are also retired LE or current LE. So it's not like we're like strangers to how this stuff works. It's just that the people wearing the badge today, and I've got a lot of friends. Okay, I've probably got some friends watching this right now.
Absolutely. By the way, lots of people shouting out Tyler.
Yeah, he's a good dude, man.
Yeah.
Like he's like
David Cagle, Bob Rocks.
David Cagle says, yeah. He's awesome, man. That's a squared. He's a LE guy, man. David is, and like squared away young guy, man. I wish at 22 I was like a tenth as squared away as he is right now, and but yeah, he's a good dude. But what I'm saying is like we got all these LE guys out there that do the right thing, but then you got your other people that value earning a paycheck and a pension they value that, and they'll be willing to violate people's rights. Well,
Hmm.
that's not going to work, man.
Yeah.
Like if they thought it was cool, like, in times where like it was generally peaceful, if they thought it was cool and like only, criminals hated them, like you're gonna have a major problem when dudes like me like dirt on you, man.
Yeah.
Like you're
But
gonna have a
how are they even going to do that? So let's say we assume that everything here is real, which I do believe that there's realness to this, right? I think there's some puffing up of what's going on here. But let's say everything's real. We've got law enforcement going down also to COVID-19, right? So how exactly are they supposed to enforce any of this? Like the governor of Florida did not want to declare or that it was mandatory for people to stay home. Florida is just dealing with this. Of course, the numbers going up. It's going to go up, around the country. And then they forced him into it. So now, I guess at midnight tonight, it's mandatory that people need to stay home. How the hell are they going to enforce that?
Okay, so if it's mandatory for people to stay home, and so your job is to protect people's life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness, but you're violating all three of those, what percentage of the time are we not sending you taxes?
Yeah. We
Right?
should. Yeah.
So if you're forsaking, right, if you're forsaking the obligation or the arrangement that we have, see, they only govern by consent. So if they're forsaking this, right? If they're forsaking this whole thing where, oh, it's a one-way affair where we're up here at the top and we're gonna trickle down all this authority. When you reach that point, then we don't have an arrangement anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Now we're
Mm-hmm.
not governing by consent, we're governing by coercion. We're
Mm-hmm.
governing by force. And I think our forefathers provided the template for that. Listen, if people don't understand the importance of what the Second Amendment is all about, it says it is necessary to the security of a free state,
Mm-hmm.
not a martial law state,
Mm-hmm.
not an emergency state. It is necessary to the security of a free state. And if we don't have a free state, we don't have a country.
Right.
We're post Weimar Germany.
Mm-hmm.
We're Bolshevik Russia.
Yeah. We're back to being ruled by whoever's the king of England currently, or queen, or whatever the hell is going on
Worse.
over there. Yeah.
Or worse.
Yeah. Here's my question. I want to ask you about the taxes, man. Do you really think they need the taxes? Because they've shut everything down now for the last couple of weeks, and they're shutting it down for another month. That could go on. Do they really need the taxes, or are they just making up this money? Are they just pulling this money out of their ass or something?
Well, they always pull money out of their ass, bro. I mean, that's what they do. I mean, you're talking about an immoral, gutless piece of crap organization. I mean, you're talking. I mean, how in the hell could a woman like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez get elected to be a member of Congress? I mean, that woman would have failed my civics class.
Yeah.
And here she is as some idiot millennial, and not all millennials are idiots. I've got very smart millennial people that I know.
Absolutely.
But here she is. This person
plenty
that
of millennials have died for their country recently, gone out
dude,
there and
that's
left
it.
body parts on the field of battle for their country.
That's it, man. That's it. And in every generation, you've got your givers and you got your takers, right? I mean, and she would be a classic taker.
Mm-hmm.
And you've got the entitled people, and then you got the hardworking people. And so, you ask about taxes, dude. Taxes are the only reason why I pay them is because I expect government to uphold why I consent to have them govern me, which is protection of life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. When they stop doing that, I'm not going to kick upstairs anymore.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I don't think anybody should.
Yeah. I think we really need to take this opportunity to change a lot of things, like you said. I'm very optimistic about that, but it doesn't mean that I think it's actually going to happen. We need to decentralize a lot of these things away from the government, of them having any kind of control over it, in order to really move forward with what America needs to be in the coming years, in my opinion. Let me go to a couple of things. So we're talking about, like, there's all these guys that are getting into guns and stuff like that. I know lots of people have made videos. I'm sure you probably made a video about this, but what do you want to say to all these new gun owners out there? What would be your first messages to them? We've got people buying handguns, buying rifles. What would you... I want to know, not only what would you, like, advise them to do, or to how they should think about all of this, but what do you think they should even be buying if they're buying anything?
You know, get a reliable pistol above anything else. You know, I mean, rifles are sexy and they're fun, and they're part of our heritage and everything. And I'm a big believer in the American Rifleman, having written a book about it.
Yep. We got to talk about the book here at some point. I hope you got the book around you right there somewhere.
I may be able to get a copy.
Yeah, we need to get a copy of the book here on the podcast for sure. Mm-hmm.
I would say, get a pistol, because if you can learn how to shoot a pistol well, all other guns are easy to shoot. Your submachine guns, your shotguns, your rifles. If you've got the fundamentals on a pistol, a rifle is very much like cheating. And so, and by the way, I mean, for a pistol, I've always got a pistol on me. I don't always have a rifle on me. But I do have a pistol on me. And so I think a pistol is by far the most practical weapon that we have. I think it's very practical. I think it's very useful. I think that it's very I think it's like your lifeline in many ways. And it always has been. I mean, even on the frontier, I mean, people carried pistols, and in the Wild West, people carried pistols, and people continue to carry pistols today. And I think you can defend your home with it. I think you can defend your family. I think that you can, if you have a pistol, you can get pretty much anything you want.
Yeah. So from your classes and everything that you guys do, what pistols would you recommend to folks out there? You're obviously seeing a lot of these things coming through the class. Is there anything that you would recommend, or you're trying to stay away from that specifically?
Oh, I mean, get a reliable one, man. I mean, it's like, the internet forums are great and all this. Like, if I want to go into a week of depression, I'll go on the online forums and go down the black hole of abyss of BS. I mean, I'm glad, man. I'm really, really glad. I mean, if I wanted to, destroy a part of my soul, I may go on there. But no, I think you get a good brand, like a Glock, a Smith & Wesson, or H&K or something. I mean, I would stick with Glock or Smith. I mean, H&K is cool and all, but Walther maybe. I think any one of those is going to be good. I like them because they work. They continue to work. They've worked in all of our classes, and I'm nearing almost a decade as a full-time firearms instructor, and the same guns that worked, back when I started continue to work. The guns that don't work continue not to work.
Yeah. Is there anything really terrible? I'm gonna go down that rabbit hole here. Forgive me, Reid. I have to. Is there anything that you've seen in the classes recently that's really super terrible? And I don't know. Let us know what's been real about it.
I mean, generally stuff made in the Middle East is gonna suck ass. Pardon the language. It's like.
What's Tyler saying right there? What did Tyler say,
brother? South American stuff. Yeah, I mean, anything, South American may not be the highest quality. I mean, generally, countries where I'd want a vacation would be countries I would buy pistols from. It just, it's amazing. I mean, American or European pistols is the way to go. If you're in the U.S., man, you've got your Smith & Wessons. I think they just continue to work, especially their M&P series, man. They just work, and Glock is what it is for a reason. I mean, if I was gonna talk about a new guy, man, like get a Glock, be done with it, man. You can go through all the cool little action guy 1911 stuff, or you can go to you can go to. But I mean, really, for the price, it's hard to beat a Smith or a Glock.
Really. And if money is an issue, I always tell people you can get used stuff. There's used guns out there. They're typically really good. And those companies that you mentioned, and for that matter, lots of companies will stand behind their guns even if they're used. So it's
funny, Hank. I just killed a Glock 19 last week, man. I killed it. I literally killed it.
How?
Shooting it.
How many rounds?
Shit, maybe $150.
Okay.
And I don't mean 15,000 rounds, and I don't mean.
Are you saying 150,000?
Yeah, I'm talking
150,000.
Yeah, I killed it, man. I killed it. I killed the frame. The barrel was money. In fact, I was still using the same barrel, still using the same slide. It was the frame that cracked in the back left. I killed it, and I sent it into Glock, and they had me a brand new frame in 5 days.
Awesome.
So
yeah.
150,000 rounds in
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. In a zombie apocalypse, if you got 150,000 zombies coming at you, you got bigger problems than your Glock, obviously.
It's crazy, man. So you get the M&Ps, the Smith & Wesson's good too. The Walthers make good pistols. I mean, here's the deal, man. I'll tell people, look, if you can't find a holster for your pistol, there's probably a reason why. You know, it's like it's
Okay.
like, just do it. And I mean, I know it works, and I've seen what works, and a good pistol's a good pistol. I mean, great. I mean, so you get the
That's
pistol, it's
that's cold.
wonderful.
That's cold though, man. That's cold. That is a cold. That is a cold Reid saying that you just dropped right there. If you can't find a holster for your pistol, there's probably a reason.
Yeah, or if you
Let's
can't,
not just move away from that immediately.
yeah,
What
or if you
about
can't,
can you make your own holster? How about that?
I don't know. I mean, maybe if you're like a leather worker. I love it, man. All these Kydex guys, all these Kydex guys. I make Kydex. Have you ever heard of so and so? Have you ever heard of so and so? He uses my stuff. I said, no, you sent him one for free. Like,
Hmm.
it's not that he uses one. I mean, stop
Yeah.
trying to name drop,
Right.
and
So are you
uh,
leather? Are you leather or Kydex for your holsters? Where are
I'm
you at?
Kydex, man.
You're
I'm Kydex.
Kydex. Okay.
Yeah,
Hmm.
because, and I don't have anything against leather holsters. I just, I mean, it's not 1975, man. Like we got. And I'm not against 1975.
Right,
I'm
right,
all
right,
about
right. I
it.
understand. I
Um,
understand.
it just, I just, I like having Kydex because you can sweat and it's not gonna breathe through the material, and
Hmm.
um, it's just for me, man. Like, I really enjoy being able to just rinse it out in the sink.
Yeah,
you know,
yeah, yeah.
and I'm a
Even when I talk to like this weekend, I'm gonna go spend some time with Sam Andrews, who makes leather holsters. I've been doing stuff with him here on my channel. Matter of fact, our first video that we did showing him making a holster just went over 1 million views. My first video to go over 1 million views. Even he says for a lot of situations, especially training, etc., you need Kydex. I mean, you can. It's easier for you to bleed on Kydex
Well,
and
I mean,
wash it off.
here's how I look at training, Hank. I look at training as is not like it's not a training environment. It's like it's a
Mm-hmm.
simulation for the street.
Mm-hmm.
So, like a lot of guys will come to class, and I'll look at them, and then one of the things I do is, and I don't like officially inspect students, but what I'll
Mm-hmm.
do is I'll look at them and I'll see what they're running, and I'll say, um, "Hey, man, is that the way you normally carry?" No, 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 I just did it for class. And I said, well, the problem with a class rig is that the only way you carry it is in class.
Mm-hmm.
So why don't we carry the way that we do on the street? I mean, the purpose of
Mm-hmm.
training is to push you into the street and be able to protect yourself.
Mm-hmm.
So Kydex for me is good because it's durable. It fits the gun very well. It never wears out. The
Mm-hmm.
mouth of the holster stays open. A quality one like say JM Kydex or Keeper's Concealment isn't going. And by the way, I don't get like paid by these guys. It's just what I use.
Mm-hmm.
I buy the holsters. I don't get comped.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I buy their stuff because these guys are shooters. Tony at JM Kydex is a shooter. Spencer Keepers down there in Oklahoma, he's a shooter, man. He's
Mm-hmm.
a hell of a shooter. I've never met him, but I've corresponded. He's an awesome guy. Um, and so that's what I carry. Right now I'm carrying a Keepers, and I'm carrying my
Mm-hmm.
Glock 26, and so
Okay.
it's like, it's just I think that there's people that shoot that use holsters, and then there's people that don't shoot and make holsters, and you can really tell the difference. Like, I can tell the difference between a guy that really shoots and makes a holster. So dude send me stuff all the time, like
Mm-hmm.
unsolicited, right?
Mm-hmm. It
um
happens to all of us. I mean,
yeah.
people always sending me things like that. Yeah.
And I'm like, and I'm grateful. It's
Mm-hmm.
not like I'm blowing them off, or it's not that I'm not appreciative, but I want to use holsters from guys that shoot at a high level. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, if you're, and please don't take this the wrong way. I'm like the last person in the world that thinks that you need to be a master or grandmaster shooter to have an opinion. But,
Mm-hmm.
um, when you shoot, I've shot so much, and for me, it's not even about the number of rounds that I shoot. For me, it's about the quality, and it's not even about my shooting. It's how can I articulate to other people the most effective way to get the information that's in my head into their action,
Mm-hmm.
right? And so, I know guys that shoot that if I can tell whether a guy shoots a lot or carries a lot by the holster that he makes. And guys like Tony at JM Kydex and guys like Spencer Keepers down there in Oklahoma, those guys are shooters. Like Spencer's, he's like a straight up gunslinger, man. So, he can shoot.
Mm-hmm.
So all these guys, I understand it, and so I like a high grip. I like a high index. I like quality, durability. I like stuff that's not going to crack or warp. And I've been carrying, JM Kydex and Keeper's Concealment now for quite a long time on a daily basis, and I've never had a single issue.
Okay. Let me ask you this about the holster before we get off the holster thing. You just said that you had a Glock break at 150,000 rounds. The holster that you were using on that, how long did that holster go?
years.
Years?
And it
Okay.
wasn't, yeah, and the holster wasn't the issue.
Hmm.
I mean, the holster, I mean, I always have backups and several of them. I mean, I have like 3 or 4 holsters
Hmm.
that I can plug in anytime. That's not going to change my grip angle. That's not going to change the index on my pistol.
Hmm.
It's always going to be the same. So, it's like I try to stay consistent. Like I find one pistol and then train with it and get really good with it. Rather than jump around from different types of pistols. Like I can
Hmm.
tell a difference. Today I shot a revolver, my backup gun.
Hmm.
I did some backup gun because 38 special's cheap right now.
Hmm.
And so I did some backup gun work, and when I went back to my normal pistol, when I went back to my normal Glock, my presentation was a little bit off, man. I could
Hmm.
tell where it's normally real razor sharp.
Hmm.
So, so changing stuff around and shooting a bunch of different kind of guns, I think that's very detrimental to people, and they need to understand how detrimental it is. Um, for me to get up and shoot, if I don't shoot for maybe a 2 or 3 or 4 day period, I lose about 10% of my skill. That's how sharp I like to keep my scalpel.
Yeah. It's definitely detrimental to me being a
Yeah.
YouTube guy, pretending I know something about guns on YouTube, which I'm definitely pretending like
No, 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 no.
99% of the time. Because we're shooting all these different things, I think yeah. If you don't have to do that, I agree with you. Have that one gun or a few guns that you spend time. And I know something you told me is like shoot on paper a lot, which I don't do, right?
Yeah.
For expediency or whatever. And I've noticed, yeah, not shooting on paper, getting real bad.
Well, the original vein on this thread that we're talking about is for new shooters. My
Hmm.
advice would be to get one gun, stay with it, get really good with it, and stop being this guy that does the firearms carousel. I'm not against that. I'm
Hmm.
not against it at all. But it's good to experiment. But eventually, you're going to have to get to the point where you settle on something, where you settle on a gun, you settle on a system, you settle on a methodology of practice and training, and then you're going to have to roll with that. Because if we keep changing things, if we keep doing that, you're going to be slower. You're not going to be as good. You're not going to shoot to the degree that you need to shoot to. And so my whole thing is, okay, I want people to be able to have the subconscious repetitions for when they get attacked on the street, that they can draw, know their front sight is there, see it, and then work that trigger so that they can make it home to their family. So, for me, a good holster goes a long way, and that includes carrying your gun every day, your
Hmm.
pistol.
Hmm.
I love rifles. I mean, hell, my emblem has a guy with a flintlock in the Cumberland
Yeah.
Gap.
Yeah.
Um, but what I think is very practical for the overall majority of people is going to be to carry a quality pistol that you can bet your life on, and carry a gun and practice with it. That way you have the same presentation, you have the same sight picture, you have the same index, you have the same holster position. And if your holster's moving around all over the place, you need to get a new one. The holster should stay put. It should stay exactly where it is each and every time. Like my holster doesn't move.
Yeah,
This
and a
keeper,
good belt is part of that combo too,
oh, big
for
time,
sure.
man. Big
Good belt,
time,
big
big
deal.
time.
What I don't know if there's any specific kind of belts or whatever, but where are you out on belts?
Yeah,
Do you use leather? Do you use like some kind of
scuba webbing, man. Scuba
webbing?
webbing.
Okay. Hmm.
Yeah, I mean the belt that I use, and there are many good ones out there, but I use a Aries belt,
Hmm.
and it's got a nice square buckle.
Hmm.
Yeah, I'll just show you guys. I mean, I've got this Aries belt right
Okay.
here. You can see the nice square buckle,
Hmm.
and you can see that it's a nice holster, and you can see that it just, I've got a nice high index on this right here so that it comes out. And so it's every time I
Yeah.
go and every time I'm
Right.
explosive, I'm right there, man. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm explosive to the gun. I mean, it's quick.
Yeah.
I mean, if
Read.
just to show you draw,
Yeah.
I'm sorry about the gun. I shouldn't have shown it
Yeah.
live, but it's a holster.
Yeah. So okay, let's move on from that.
Yeah.
Here's the other thing. Okay, so here's what I wanted to ask you. Let's say we move past that, right? We move past the. Oh, well, actually, you were talking about your backup. What was your backup before we move on from that to rifles? What's your backup that you use?
I'll carry a J-frame Smith in 38.
Mm-hmm. Okay, J Frame Smith. That's been your backup for a long time. You haven't switched out of that.
No, I
Okay.
carry that as a backup because it's gonna give me 5 shots at 38, and I know it's gonna go off. And and I know that I can hit it 25 yards. I mean, I can make headshots with it at 25 yards. And it's like, for people out there that are looking for a backup gun, what you need to understand is a backup gun shouldn't be a compromise. A backup gun should be a gun that you can shoot well enough that's going to be able to save your life. So for me, a 5-shot 38, and I'm running good ammo through it. I mean, I'm running Spear Gold Dot. So for me, it's about being able to hit the vitals or hit the central nervous system, you know?
Okay. So then let's move on to the rifle thing. So lots of people are buying rifles also, right? I think there's more folks buying handguns, so that's good. Rifle,
Yeah.
what would be your recommendation to folks with rifles? And we definitely don't need to see it.
No, that's all good. Hey, I figured we could toe the line on the envelope. Why not?
Yeah. Okay, we'll see, but it's all good. It's good info. So what do you think about rifles for the folks out there that, there's people out there for their first time getting a rifle. What should they think about? I think there's people thinking like AK, AR. Should I get a 308? Should I do this thing? Should I get 6.5 Creedmoor, 5.56, 223? There's lots of options nowadays in the world that we live in. So what would you say about that?
Yeah, generally speaking, I mean, if you live out rural, I mean, an AK would do you well because you don't have to worry about over penetration. You don't have to worry about your neighbors. You don't have to worry about putting a round into your neighbor's house or anything. But I mean, if you live in the city or the suburbs, man, you may want to reconsider that because, the 30 cal stuff is going to penetrate. I mean, that's what it's designed to do. I'm looking at people that, if you live in a neighborhood and you got a neighbor's house close by, you probably want a 5.56 AR. And I'm not a gimmicky guy, man. I like stuff that's been proven to work, that continues to work, that is money. For me, that's an AR and 5.56, and I really don't deviate from that if I'm gonna use that for home defense because and in my book I mentioned that the 5.56 has been proven to penetrate even less than handgun rounds do inside structures. And this is not only the FBI that's done this research, but it's multiple law enforcement agencies across the country.
Okay, is that like a specific kind of 5.56? Are you chambering it in something like hollow point or something defensive?
Any of them.
5.56. Okay.
Any of them. It certainly doesn't penetrate any more than pistol rounds, and probably in fact, I got a video about it where I had an old house on my property, and we shot a lot of the rounds into the house before we demolished it, and the 5.56 penetrated the walls the least of any gun.
Okay. It went through. I've got to go back and look at that video.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's actually a few years ago, maybe like 4 years ago.
Oh, okay. All right. I've got to go back and see that. So, okay, cool. So 5.56, that's all you need. I do 300 blackout. Are you for or against that? And I value your opinion. I know you're the kind of person who's going to say what you think regardless.
Yeah. I mean, it's great, but I would just get an AK.
Oh, okay. Okay. Yeah, that's a good thing for the AK. By the way, I hope someone's getting the book because I do want to get into the book here. So the next thing I want to talk about, the next part of that question that I wanted you to answer was the training part. Obviously, you're a trainer. This is what you do. But do you have some kind of formula for how much money that people are expending to guns, ammo, etc. that goes into training?
I mean, in my lifetime, man, I've spent way more on training than I have on firearms. And that translates, into a serious skill set. And anybody that's been in class that's seen me shoot it's not that, I try to burn the house down, and it's not that I'm trying to compete because that's not my scene. I'm not against it, but it's not my scene. I could, I mean, it's just, it's not my deal. I mean, I'm a trainer, man. It's not about me. It's about the students. So, for me, it's about, I would, if you're spending more on guns and ammo than you are on training in a given year, it's wrong. I think that you should be spending, and this isn't just, because I have to sell classes. First of all, I don't have to sell classes. Secondly, our class has been sold out for 6 years, and I'm not saying this out of arrogance. I'm saying this because God's blessed us. The other thing that I'll say is that whether it's with us or with another quality outfit like Paul Howe down at Combat Shooting and Tactics, down in Texas. I mean, he'd be a great guy to go train with. So it's not just about coming to Valor Ridge. I just think people need to get quality training in general. I think that you're going to find that for the price of a pistol, or half the price for a rifle, that you're going to learn lifelong skills. You're going to learn how to run the gun. You're going to learn how to shoot better. The instructor is going to be able to diagnose your technique and your mechanics, and they're going to be able to teach you what and how to practice. I think that's an ultimate benefit, rather than going out and buying several thousand rounds of ammo and just going to the range and making a mountain of brass. I mean, that's problematic, because there's a lot of guys out there that have guns. There's a lot of people that buy a lot of ammo and then they go out to the range and target shoot. Well, we don't need to target shoot. We need to practice and train. We need to practice. We need to learn what and how to practice. And so what you're actually going to find is that you'll actually shoot less ammo more efficiently, and you'll do it better if you get a professional training class. So, for me, it's about going to quality instructors, and I would definitely vet instructors. I would, do they have shooting accomplishments? They have military experience? They have law enforcement experience? I would look at that whole spectrum, and furthermore, do they actually know how to teach? So I would look at all of those things, and because there's a lot of guys out there that they may start a training school and their students may shoot a lot of rounds, but they don't learn anything. I mean, I've had people that have come from those kind of schools where they've shot a lot of rounds, and then they've come out to the ridge and we had to change their life,
Yeah. I mean, so here's something I would interject, into the conversation about training, which I'm not a trainer at all, but just from my side observing it, I would say that if you're a person out there thinking about going to someone to do training, or if you're just even before you think about the specific person, you're thinking about training. I think about why did you get these guns? What was the purpose of it? So if the purpose of it was to compete, like you were talking about competition shooting, I think that's a whole thing. And there's nothing wrong with it. You want to be all in that. If your purpose was to shoot long distance, or your purpose might have been just to show off to your buddies or whatever it is, nothing wrong with that. You need to identify that first, in my opinion, and then think about what you want to do when you go to a trainer. What do you think?
Sure. Oh, absolutely. I mean, for me, I decided years ago that I was going to focus on self-defense shooting versus competitive shooting. I mean, that doesn't mean that the skill still isn't there. I mean, that doesn't mean that, you still can't go out and compete if you want to. I mean, I stay pretty sharp when it comes to shooting pistols. I see what the top guys are doing, and then I go out and do what they do. But for me, that stuff has zero application. Has zero application.
Did you ever competitively shoot before?
No, I never
okay.
did.
Right.
But I've been to places like Rogers. I mean, I've been to Rogers Shooting School, which is considered one of the hardest ones in the country, and I shot advanced there from concealment. It's just, and I've gotten, and that was 4 years ago. I've gotten exponentially better since then. And when I do drills, I go out on the range and I see what, the masters, grandmasters are shooting. And then I'll go out and shoot what they do on the timer and everything. But for me, that has zero application to real street time. So when I do that, just, I do that to, I guess, not keeping up with the Joneses, but I do it just to, see where I'm at on an individual level. But I don't teach that stuff in class, right? When I'm in class, I teach people to draw deliberately, shoot deliberately, target discriminate, make sure that you're doing your muzzle control and your positions carefully, stuff that you actually use. Because in gunfights, people shoot way too fast. All we have to do is watch police footage all over the country. We watch all this stuff, and all these competitive shooting techniques fail in reality time and time again. You're exposing yourself to a multiple opponent battlefield. You're going to get shot.
Yeah.
You try to shoot faster than your skill level allows. You're going to get shot. You spaz out and you get outside of your bandwidth, you're going to probably get hurt. So what I teach people to do is accuracy over speed 100% of the time. And although I practice at speed and I shoot fast, I don't do that when I'm actually doing my shoot house target discrimination. I take my time. I discriminate the targets. I make sure there's shoot, no shoot targets. I, sometimes have other people set up the shoot house with different targets, and I do that. But I think that the key here is for people beginning is that you got to have good fundamentals. You got to start with good mechanics. you have to start with deliberation, and it all starts with the mentality, right? It all starts here and it flows through here, and eventually you come to the point where it all flows through here.
Yeah.
And that's what I'm going for.
Okay, very cool. There's a couple of questions coming in that I just want to take, or comments. Let me start with, there's someone out there that's, I think John Voorhees says that he watches YouTube videos as a training source since he doesn't have money to go to a trainer. What do you think about that? And then also, do you have any advice for the folks out there where money, like, obviously is a thing? Some people are actually younger people, and therefore they don't have the money, and some people are just in that position for whatever reason in life that they don't have a lot of money. So what do you think about that?
Oh, it's definitely understandable. I mean, when I was a graduate assistant and I was working on my master's degree, I made like $900 a month.
Wow.
So I totally understand. I'm not this guy that is rolling. I'm not like Scrooge McDuck diving into my gold vault every day.
Right.
So I understand it. And so my advice is that I've had students that have saved up for many months. I mean, I had a Jimmy John's driver save up his tips for several months, and then he came to class. I've had retired couples on a fixed income that they didn't make much, and they saved up to come. And so I get it. But if you've got a gun you haven't shot in a year, what I would recommend doing is probably selling that to get some cash to actually learn some real stuff. And people buy ammo all the time. I mean, they buy guns all the time, or they'll buy equipment, or they'll buy DVDs. All that stuff adds up. So what I would do is I would definitely budget for it. And I still, like, even today, I mean, I pay for all the classes that I go take. I mean, I don't train at a whole lot of other places anymore, but I do train at some. And it's like, I understand the value of training. I understand the value of being away from work, of being away from your family and friends. Like, I recognize that it is there, but videos aren't the same as actually being in a class. And all of our students say the same thing. They're like, dude, I watched your YouTube videos, I've read the books, but it's not even comparable to actually being here in class. So you get a lot more value being there than you do by buying guns and DVDs.
Or watching the videos. Like, I've done some videos of your class, and I don't think people should look at that. Like, what I'm trying to do with that is give them a little bit of the flavor of, who you are, where that place is, etc. But it's tough for me, for example, to be there actually training and at the same time making videos. And even if we got like a full crew in there to try to record what it is, I don't think there's any way to do that. You really just have to get out there and do a class to do that. Let me hit some other. Let me see if there's a Brian Quick. I'm trying to stay like in the same category, so that's why I'm jumping around to some of the questions that people have. Brian Quick says, does Reid have a force on force class?
We do. Yeah, it's the active shooter. We do some force on force in there. We do here's my system. And the way that I've set up my system is this. It has to go from flat range, right? So we learn on the flat range, which is where we ingrain those mechanics and fundamentals. Then we have to go to the shoot house, where we do target discrimination. Then we have to go to force on force. And then the fourth and final step is the street. So I only teach techniques that work on the street. So if we're teaching techniques that fail at any one of those junctures, it's a useless technique. So I don't even bother with that. I mean, the purpose of training is to get to the street. So to answer his question, do I have a force on force class? Yes, active shooter. We have force on force training in that, where we make the student actually make a decision in the scenario with the role players. So yeah, we do.
Okay, very cool. Bob Rocks, this is a comment. He says, I took a class with Reid. He definitely teaches deliberate fundamentals and safety first. So shout out. I'm not sure if you're aware of who Bob Rocks is. I mean, that could be his YouTube name versus Sean Mills. We got someone else says, awesome classes and instructors. Can't wait to go back. The lectures alone are worth the price of tuition. Absolutely. And there's I feel like in any training, in most training classes, let's say most, there's always a feeling of like fellowship and stuff like that with the other folks that you go there and you train with and all that kind of stuff. So I think you will always feel that it's worth it. So let's see.
I try to attract. I try to put out just who I am inherently. I try to put out the kind of people that I want to be around. I'm not in this to make a buck. I'm not in this to make money. I never started it to make any money. I mean, that's not why I did it. I do this job, or profession, I should say, because I want to, rather
Mm-hmm.
than because I have to. I mean, the reality, and I mean, like I said, the reality is that I could go into some Caribbean island right now and teach scuba diving for the rest of my life, and I'd be more than comfortable doing that. But
Yeah,
but I
that
but I
doesn't
do
sound too
this.
bad. That doesn't sound
No,
terrible.
it doesn't. But I
Yeah.
but I enjoy this too much, and I
Right.
enjoy people. I enjoy the people too much, and I enjoy what we do because I think that we are saving lives. And the emails and the letters that I've received over the
Mm-hmm.
years of people that have actually used this information to save their lives in the training,
Mm-hmm.
that's been worth any income or any kind of business revenue.
Absolutely. I think look, to me teachers are very important. I come from a family of teachers. I think it's a very important thing. It's one of those things that I hope changes in America after this, because I think for like unions and politics and stuff like that, the whole profession of being a teacher in America and other places around the world, it's kind of like really twisted. But teachers are some of the most important people in everyone's life. So let me get on this thing about ammo. Rocky Mountain Bear was asking about how much ammo. Then there's what's the other? Let me see. Rocky Mountain Bear. He said how much ammo. There's some other ammo questions here that I want to get to. American Freedom Outdoors says, what ammo do you use most of the time when you train? If you want to hit some of those.
Yeah, just cheap ball. It's
Really.
I mean, whatever shoots good in your gun. I mean, if
Mm-hmm.
you're gonna go train, I mean, figure. And each gun is so different. Like I could tell you exactly, what my training ammo works in my gun, but
Mm-hmm.
in the people watching this video, like their gun may hate that ammo. It may like shoot it like a shotgun pattern, and
Mm-hmm.
so each gun is unique. It likes what it likes, and so
Mm-hmm.
in each one of my rifles or each one of my pistols, it has a very specific load that it likes, and we
Mm-hmm.
figured that out by trial and error.
Yeah, I'm throwing up some comments. Brandon Larrabee says Reid is an awesome guy, teacher, instructor, and leader. Let his love of history let you judge his present. So there you go. That's from Brandon Larrabee. I'm trying to
Appreciate
give you
that.
some kudos, man.
No,
I
no, I
want you to
appreciate
get some
that.
kudos. You're hiding up there in the mountains. You don't know, you don't really understand how much people out there love you and appreciate you for what you do. So we want to let the folks get a chance to get that out there. Streamlight says I've trained with Reid and his crew twice. It's the real deal, and I plan on going for more in the near future. So there you
That's
go.
awesome. That's
That's
awesome.
from those guys. Let me see. I'm trying to see if there's any other questions that people want to get into right now. So what about the book? I know it's getting dark out there. I would really like to see this book. I remember what you put the
You
book
have a
out a couple
copy of the
months
book?
ago, right?
Yeah, a rifle, please.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is getting dark, Hank, but don't
Yeah.
let that,
No, no, absolutely no, no. I know darkness doesn't, you know, when
I
you're
remember.
yeah, when you're a wolf, you see better in the dark.
Oh, Lord Nelson, back in the British Empire, Lord Nelson, he was an admiral, and
Hmm.
he actually spelled a guy on watch on one of his ships, and it was a cold, cool night, and
Hmm.
he didn't even wear an overcoat, and so one of the guys came up to Lord Nelson, and this is an admiral of an entire fleet standing watch on a ship, and they said, "Admiral, sir, are Lord Nelson, are you not cold?" He says, "My zeal for my country keeps me warm." So,
All right, good one, good one.
yeah,
I get it.
here's
Yeah, let's take a look at yeah.
that's pistol craft. I've got
Hmm.
one there,
Oh,
and
okay.
then I've got a rifle. I think I got a copy of the American Rifleman floating around here
So
somewhere.
where can Pistolcraft? Where can folks get these books that you've put out?
Amazon actually, and
Okay,
so if they go to Amazon and type in pistol craft, and then here's the American Rifleman right here.
awesome. Okay, so Pistolcraft is specifically about pistols, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
To walk us through Pistolcraft first, and then tell us a little bit about American Rifleman, what we can expect in there.
Pistolcraft to me, and I've studied the historiography of pistol shooting in this country. I mean, I looked at the greats. I looked at guys like, Fairbairn and Sykes and Abraham Himmelwright and Powell. All the British guys. JBL Noel. I looked at all those old school guys, and for me, the old school guys have the answers. I mean, they've got the answers to the test. You just need to be smart enough to listen to them. And so when I started researching this, I mean, I used dozens and dozens of books. I mean, some of the books you can't even get anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So I looked at that, and I decided, okay, I looked at the historiography, I looked at the span of writings on this, and I realized that, you know what, there's a huge gap. I mean, there was a huge gap of a comprehensive pistol work. I mean, there were guys that did cool stuff. I mean, there's guys that wrote awesome books, and even within the last couple of decades. But an overview of pistol technique and an overview of just an amazing things that people have volunteered and taught us, guys like Jeff Cooper and Chuck Taylor and I mean, just there's so many cool guys out there. And so I wanted to have a comprehensive thing that honored the history of pistol shooting in the world, not just here in America, because the British, I mean, they contributed so much. And so I wanted to make sure that I honored the British, our cousins across the pond. But I looked at it not just as a history of pistol craft, but also technique to take what is old and make that kind of meld that with the flavors of modernity. I mean, the title of the book is Forging Past with Present.
Mm-hmm.
So we use the lessons from the past and improve upon them. I mean, that's why it's called pistol craft, because it's this ever evolving thing. But I don't like new and gimmicky stuff. I don't like people reinventing the wheel. And what you're going to find is like every 10 years, somebody's going to try to reinvent the wheel. They're going to try failed techniques with a different name. But if you just read the literature from 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80 years ago, you'll find that technique was tried and that it failed, and that there's even commentary about how it failed. So we know what works. And as a historian, I love this. I mean, I spent thousands of hours reading all those guys' books. And that's why there's so many footnotes in the book, is because I honor the people that came before me. I didn't come up with a lot of this stuff. A lot of the guys that came from the past came up with this stuff. And so I made sure that they were given credit, and that's why I footnote it. So that's kind of what pistol craft is about. It's about honoring the guys like Jeff Coopers and the Chuck Taylors and, the guys like Fairbairn and Sykes and Rex Applegate and, the old school guys.
Okay, cool. By the way, Lola's got links. She's throwing up links out there for folks. And I'll try to put these like in my Amazon. I've got like an Amazon wish list or something. I'll try to throw those in there after this so that you guys could find it. Okay, so that's the pistol craft one. The rifles. What was the thinking behind that? I think there's a little bit too much light on you. Yeah, there you go.
Wow. Yeah. I don't want to look like Moses coming down from Sinai,
Yeah. The golden. You look like the golden boy right now. Like you're made of brass right now.
No. No.
Yeah.
It's funny.
Yeah. See if you can get them to bounce that off the wall next to you. Tell them to bounce that light off the wall. We can see. Yeah, there you go. That's a little bit more towards the wall.
Right there?
No, towards the wall.
That way?
Yeah.
Yeah, a little bit further. Can we do it a little bit over that side?
Yeah, that way it'll bounce off of that wall on you. There you go. That's good. That's good. Yeah, so tell us about the rifle one.
Rifle book, it practically wrote itself, thank the Lord. I mean, it would be like I would wake up early every morning and, of course, obviously on non-class days, I would wake up and, get a cup of coffee going, get a couple cigars and, write 20, 30 pages in the morning and then take a break and then go do grounds maintenance. And so it practically wrote itself compared to the pistol book. I mean, the pistol book took me like a year and a half.
Wow. Okay.
And the rifle book took me like a few months.
Oh, okay.
So, and it's weird because the rifle book is longer than the pistol one is. And it's like I said, I've just been blessed, man. I mean, I didn't come up with this. I mean, if it wasn't for the Lord, man, I wouldn't have any of these ideas. I wouldn't have any of the success or any of the friendships or anything. I mean, yeah, you got to do the work. I mean, you've got to go out and do it. But at the end of the day, I mean, I realize that it can all be taken away from you in a moment's notice. And so I don't ever take it for granted. So the rifle book for me was and the guy that I remember, and I'm really regret not putting in the book. I just didn't think about it. But a friend of mine, James Owens, he said, we're a nation born of armed rebellion. And so I really like that. I mean, I had thought that myself in years past, but he's the one that actually articulated it. And so I thought, what a great title, or a subtitle, I should say. I mean, American Rifleman's the title, Born of Armed Rebellion is the subtitle. And I said, well, we are born of armed rebellion. I mean, that's what started the American Revolution. So
yeah, absolutely.
So I thought it was
Absolutely.
cool. And
Yeah.
so I wanted that to be the theme. And so I incorporate some techniques and some muzzle positions and marksmanship and all that. But the main section of the book that I really want people to look at is the purpose section. I want people to realize like why we have rifles. And yeah, it's for home defense. Yeah, it's for neighborhood defense. But at the end of the day, it's also to maintain our republic,
Yeah, absolutely. Let me ask you this question before I forget here. Are there audio versions of these books available?
No, no, no,
Oh,
no, there's
okay.
not. That's a different enterprise and a different
Yeah.
endeavor,
How
man.
can we get that to happen, man? So, some folks out there can be listening to these books while they're in their cars and stuff like that.
I
That's
mean,
fun.
that's like you got to hire a narrator. Like
You
if you
could
do it
do it.
yourself,
Yeah, you can narrate it.
I don't, I don't know if I have the acoustics and
Oh.
all the. It's just it's crazy. I know people like the podcast and they like driving and
Hmm.
things like that. But for me, I think true knowledge comes from having the physical book
Hmm.
in your hand. When I study Torah, I've got it in my hand and I'm reading it. So it's like with gun books, it's like you got to have it in your hand and you got to actually like interface with it on a physical level.
Okay, understood, understood. I'm gonna get my hands on these books. Maybe we'll talk about them here on the podcast and help get the message out to the folks. I know you've told me before that like this whole thing is an art. It's like a martial art, right?
Yeah,
Do you want to expand on that a little bit?
it is an art, and I mean firearms, not just the act of shooting the firearms, but the teaching of the firearms. I mean, I get more gratification out of the teaching than I do the shooting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Um, and that doesn't mean I don't enjoy shooting. I love it. It's one of my favorite activities in the world.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's the art of putting on the perfect class,
Mm-hmm.
where every explanation is understood by every student in the class, the terminology, the delivery, the presentation,
Mm-hmm.
the environment. But firearms, the art of learning firearms, it is an art, and it's not just for killing, it's not just for shooting, it's not just for all of these things that go into it. That's not what it's about. It's about the preservation of life and using the tools that are available. For me, it's I couldn't live in a place where you couldn't have these things, right? I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I wouldn't want to even go through the process of even applying for a permit, so to speak. I think that's abhorrent. So for me, it is an art. It's the sustainer of life. It's the physical sustainer of life, every bit as much as food and water, and that's how serious I take it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think like I don't know, maybe it's the definition of art for some people because I think people understand what we're saying, but for some people maybe it's definition of art. We're not talking about like an art. This is something you paint and you put on a wall. I think it's it's a way that you live your life, a philosophy, discipline, almost a religion
Yeah.
of how you live your life, and I think that's very true. It's something for like I know since you told me that it's been just going around and around in my brain. you know.
It's amazing, Hank. It's amazing. I mean, all this stuff is in the Bible. I
Hmm.
mean, they talk about they talk about the mixed multitude coming up out of Egypt armed.
Hmm.
What do you think they were armed with? I mean, they were armed with swords and spears and every. I mean,
Hmm.
and Passover's coming up next week, so
Hmm.
I think that there is a very much a spiritual basis,
Hmm.
for being armed and preserving your way of life, and for
Hmm.
me, it's preserving the American way of life. I
Yeah.
think there's no greater country on earth, man. There's
Yeah.
nothing that even compares.
This is so. Let's say we put it in the context of nature, right? And this is something that I've often thought about. There's lots of folks out there that would not agree with us when it comes to the Second Amendment or firearms or people being able to defend themselves. But they love the planet. They love the creatures on the planet. So do I. I love the planet. Okay. I love the all the creatures that are on the planet. So imagine the creatures out there that are clawed, right? They have claws to defend themselves. And imagine you took those claws away from them, right? Imagine the cats and the dogs and all the other creatures, all the other beautiful creatures that we have on this planet that have claws to protect themselves, and you took that away from them. If you go look it up, there's a lot of those people saying, please don't declaw these animals, right? They're saying that. but yet they don't. But yet, for some reason, they believe that they should also be that us as human beings, we should be declawed.
Well, I think it's a naivety. I think that it's a naivety that is repulsive and repugnant to me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I remember many years ago there was in Bosnia, and you know, I mean, who knows what kind of crazy stuff's going on over there, but
Mm-hmm.
the powder keg of Europe is the
Mm-hmm.
Balkans, and I remember they were talking about, you know, this reporter was going and investigating all these like genocidal things happening and all these mass killings and everything, and they're investigating it. And the journalist says, you know, I mean, we're all human. We're in the global village and blah blah blah, and all this like platitude BS that doesn't mean anything to people that live in reality.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember that the woman, this journalist asked this person, uh, why why didn't you just, you know, call the police?
Mm-hmm.
And the person paused and had a very introspective moment and said, who do you think was doing all the killing?
Mm-hmm. Wow. Yeah.
You know, it's this amazing thing. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
it's so amazing to me, like how people can like, it's not the individual. I mean, individuals are always responsible for their actions, but without the teeth of government, it's very small scale, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah, it's amazing to think about that. And I think, you know, like, you've probably lived through some stuff like this. Like, you know, we were talking about emergencies, and I think that's like the title of the whole show tonight, Emergencies. You've lived through some emergencies, right? Before we get out of here, I would like for you to share your experience, some of your experiences. I know there may be things you don't want to talk about
Sure.
that you've lived through, but I'm interested to like hear about that from your point of view, that we're going through this thing now, that it's a little weird for everyone, that even though we see on the news, we see all around the world people are being affected by this thing, but we've gone through emergencies before, and even there's like memes of people saying like, this is the 10th apocalypse, this is the 20th apocalypse that I've survived. I'll put up something real quick so we can go on for the people who are out there. I still see the messages.
Yeah, the messages are still going, but it's not. The stream is not there. So I
Oh,
don't know.
no, no, no. I think we're on. I think we're on right now. So you can
Cool.
go check and see if we're on, if we're back on. I see people popping in and stuff like that.
Okay, you are.
Okay,
You're
so
back.
I think we're back.
You're
We're
back.
back. We might have to do some editing.
You're back.
We might have to do some editing of this. You're making history, Reid.
Oh geez, whatever. Like they can kiss my, you know what, man. Like
you,
I just want to fist fight.
you talk
Like we can
about
go
you
out we
talk
can go out
about
to the
history.
middle of the
You are
field.
part of history right now.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, we can go out to the middle of the field and fist fight, man. Like, you know, for fighting and control the country. I mean, I'll gladly
Yeah.
fist
Well,
fight whoever wants
this
to
is
do it.
just a level to me. Here, I'll tell you what's happening. This is an attack on our liberties, like we were talking about, where we literally can't get up here and we can't show certain things, you know. And
Oh
they've come up
jeez.
with a reason, and the like. So, for example, let me tell you this story because I don't think we had a chance for me to tell you this story. So, back, I think it was like November or something like that of last year, 2019. YouTube reached out to me and they said, "Hey, we want to talk to you about something." So I immediately got worried about that, you know, and I was like, okay, listen, I'll talk to you guys. They wanted to call me, and I agreed to talk to them. They kept sending me NDAs. They sent like 4 or 5 of these NDAs that I had to sign off, agreeing not to talk about this until a certain time or whatever. So when I got on the call, it was like one person and about 4 lawyers. 3 or 4 lawyers were on this call with me, and basically they were telling me like, hey, we're changing the rules for when people go live, and we've talked to the big YouTubers about this. We want to talk to you as well. I'm not a big YouTuber at all, you know, when it comes to this, and this channel is about 7,000 subscribers, but they said that they realize as a gun guy I go live often, you know, obviously for this podcast that we're doing. And basically, they were telling me that they wanted to create this rule that we cannot handle firearms while we're live. you know. And I was like, this is the most outrageous thing that I've ever heard of, and I wanted to know why. They said, oh, because people have done bad things, they've gone live and done bad things and killed people and broadcast all of that stuff live. And I was like, okay, I get it. One, I don't think this rule is going to stop that, and two, what does that have to do with me? I've been doing this for years, you know, and I have, you know, I've got this channel, other channels. I'm a gun guy. I you know, all these things that I'm telling them that I'm a professional. I've never, you know, done anything. Why do we have to know? Like, well, you know, it's not just because of you. It's because of these people. And so even I went on to say to them, how are you gonna know? Like, if I'm showing a video, because they said you could show videos. They said you could have guns in the background and stuff like that. You could show a picture. And I was like, who's gonna be able to tell the difference of that? And basically they said, we're gonna have someone watching you. You know,
Oh, whatever, man.
so and that's exactly what's going on. There's people watching us, and that's kind of insane. And it's one of the things about losing. So like I was telling you about losing your Friday, right, when we first started doing this. And if anyone's interested, you can go see a video that I have up about this. But basically, a friend of mine was telling me how he had a friend who like used to hang out with the boys and go party and stuff like that, play dominoes, drink, whatever. And then he met a girl, fell in love, got married. And when they got married, he still would go out every Friday and party and have fun, you know, play dominoes or chess or whatever with the guys, drink and stuff like that. But one Friday he got sick, he didn't do it. The next week when he was going to hang out with his boys, his wife was like, "Where are you going?" And he was like, "I'm going to go do what I always do." And she said, "No, you didn't do it last Friday, so you don't ever have to do that again." You know, and my friend said, that's losing your Friday. You know, and I feel like that's the same thing that's happening here to us, that people keeps coming up with these emergency things. Oh, there's guys doing bad things, go live and online and they do bad things and they kill people and they do all these things. And because of that, we have to do this to you. You know, now we've got to watch you specifically. Watching me has nothing to do with those bad actors. I'm never going to do what those people have done. I do what I do to combat those bad guys out there, right? So,
Yeah,
but we've lost it here, obviously.
Yeah, you would think. I mean, I don't know, man. I just, it's all laughable to me.
Mm-hmm.
It's all so absurd. It's comedical, and you know, it is what it is, man.
Yeah.
I just want to know who it was. Like just be honest. Like, tell me who you are. We can go to a field. We can fist fight. Like, we can grapple. Like, we can do whatever you want to do. But like at the end of the day, like
look, it's probably several things. I'm sure there's probably someone watching us, or there's people who are watching us. Like, you know, we have it. You've got haters, right? I've got haters. When you come here on the show, I don't typically talk about that because we're friends and there's no hate between me and you.
No,
you know, we're friends. Matter of fact, I love you, man. I think you're awesome, dude. I'm glad that we met. We met when I first started doing this thing like 7 years ago. I've never regretted that moment of meeting you and all that. You know, so here we are doing this thing, and I don't spend a lot of time talking about it, but we all have haters and people who watch us so they can, like, you know, be there when something goes wrong so they can report it to the Gestapo. This is what happens in life. It's nature. And even in the gun community, there's haters who are out there working actively against other gun people.
Oh, I love it. I mean, you try to find the chink in the armor. You know, there isn't any. So so come at me. You know, I love it. I love it. You know, it's amazing. Like, you'd think that you know, you're rooting for a veteran and, you know, a teacher and all this to succeed and, you know, start your own business. But I don't know, the ego. I think there's a lot of people's insecurities out there, man. And you know, there's a lot of people's insecurities. There's a lot of people that hate other people being successful. I want everybody to be successful. I want everybody to live their pursuit of happiness. And you know, there's other people out there that claim to be freedom-minded. You know, they claim to be libertarian, but they're the opposite of that.
Mm-hmm.
And when things would break bad, they would be some kind of little cult leader
Mm-hmm.
that would try to hurt other people. And it's guys like that I know, you know, eventually you may have to put down.
Yeah.
So
and I don't think things are breaking bad. I don't think we're going to wake up tomorrow in the apocalypse. I think things are just slowly going bad. You know?
Yeah, it'll be that way. But, you know, I think light is always more visible than darkness, man. And For me, it's about being a beacon of light, and not that there's anything special about what we do at the Ridge. I think
Mm-hmm.
that although we do amazing stuff, and I'm very grateful for that, but
Mm-hmm.
I think in times of darkness, I think that truth permeates darkness, and I think that light permeates darkness, and I think that when people understand what is the point of this? This is about preservation of life, and you are such an important part of not only the Second Amendment, Hank, but I mean you're perpetuating the First Amendment. I mean you always pride yourself on being that storyteller, about being that journalist, or that person that brings information and
Mm-hmm.
art to other people. And that's what I love about you, man. I'm not an artistic person. I mean, I am when it comes to firearms,
I
but
think you're
not
creative.
in
Yeah, I
general.
think you're creative.
Yeah, I mean, when it comes to certain
You wrote
things,
a book. I mean, you wrote 2 books. Come on now.
well, that's it's just about talking about things that you enjoy. But I mean,
Yeah.
you're you got that whole thing, man. You got the storyteller thing. I mean, to me, you're the quintessential American story. I mean, because you came to this country. I mean, your father, I mean, he came to this country. It's almost like
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's exactly what needs to happen. Is people that believe in this place, that came and worked hard, and you had some hard times, but you built yourself up.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's really cool, man. And that's one thing we talked about, and we were, had the privacy at the fire
Mm-hmm.
pit, just chilling out. I mean, that was one of the things that when I learned that about you, when I learned that about your family, I realized, I was like, wow, man, there's a lot more depth to this guy than in a good way,
Yeah.
in a very good way.
Awesome. Yeah. Listen, you know what I think? First of all, I appreciate what you're saying. Yeah, man, this is genuinely, like you said, this is not a thing I do for money. I could tell you something right now. I could do, I have options of things I could do to make more money. Right.
Oh
And
yeah.
it's not to say, hey, look, I could spend more money too. I mean, I've
Hmm.
got things I could do with that money. This is something that I do out of pure passion. I don't even think, I know my parents, sacrificed to come here. My mom's no longer here. My dad is still here, but they gave up things, and they don't even completely understand the freedom that we have. Right? They don't even completely get that, but they did it so that I could get it. And I'm doing what I'm doing so that my sons could get it, and my grandchildren after that could get this. And I think one of the things that a lot of people out there who even like in our own community are working against us. And I'm not just talking about the haters. I think a lot of the stuff going on with the gun laws, we have gun experts giving the other side info. And that's why we're seeing a lot of things coming at us the way that they are, and why they're so specific and even so detailed. But here's the thing I want people to know: like, I don't define winning the same way that everyone else does. To me, I define winning as fighting. Right? When I get up, just like my parents, like my dad could have, both of my parents could have done pretty well off in Guyana, to be honest with you. A lot of times when I look at coming to America, I think like, oh man, I feel a lot like that, right? They could have done pretty well staying in Guyana, but they decided to give up everything to come here. And to me, the definition of winning is when you fight, when knowing that you could lose. And people think, oh, if you lose this, then you're a loser. No, if you get up and you fight something, then that's when you win. Right there, when you decide in your heart that you're going to fight back, and no matter what people do to you and how many times they push you down and like play all the games that human beings want to play with other human beings, that you still get up and you keep fighting. And that's like how I personally define winning. I have a feeling that you're a lot the same way.
Yeah, Stonewall Jackson, he told, of which I have many relatives that fought in the Stonewall Brigade and with the 11th Virginia and the people attached to him.
Mm-hmm.
I remember, when he talked to his men, he said, "You've fought valiantly." I mean, this is before he died, of course. He said, "You fought valiantly. You've conducted yourself with honor on the field of battle. You've already won."
Mm-hmm. Amen.
And it's and Lee after Gettysburg, Longstreet said, I mean, there's no way we can win it now. And Lee said, winning? I mean, was that ever really the question? I mean, was that really ever the issue?
Mm-hmm.
So, my ancestors, I mean, I recognize who I come from and to whom I'm accountable, right? I mean, we all hopefully should think about these spiritualists, but I look at my ancestors. I mean, they fought the Egyptians, they fought the Canaanites, they fought the Greeks, they fought the Romans, they fought, I mean, and they're still here. And on the other side of my family, they fought the English, they fought, people trying to clear them out of the highlands, man. I mean, they maintain their way of life with honor. I mean, we protected. I mean, our clan, I was Clan Henderson. I mean, we protected the king until the very end, the King of Scotland until the very end. And even then, they came over here to the United States and protected their land and their territory and their way of life. And I've got several seventh generation great grandfathers that fought for the Continental Army, that fought constantly against the British during the Revolutionary War, not only in the Continental Army but also in the militia. So I get that. In the war between the states, I've got 55 direct ancestors that fought against a tyrannical centralized government. So
yeah, this is in your blood, man. It's written on your DNA for you to be a fighter.
It is, and not just a fighter, but a fighter for the right reasons, which is protection of your way of life against a tyrannical central government. And when that you're in the right, it doesn't matter whether you win or lose. What matters is that you step up to the plate. And I tell people this all the time, and I just I'm a little bit more candid in my interviews anymore. Depending, it depends on who it is, but I'm generally a lot more candid and less reserved than I am anymore, because I just simply want this passion to be shown to people. I've achieved everything that I've ever wanted to achieve, man. I've got I'm more than comfortable financially. I've got my land and my house paid off. I've got status. Amongst, even not just against my contemporary, not just with my contemporary peers in this profession, but even with the older generation, they very much respect who I am and what I do. So I've got recognition professionally. I've got great people in my life. I've got great family and friends. So I've got this entire thing that everyone, generally strives to do. But at the end of the day, it doesn't mean a whole lot to me if the vessel that made this all possible, the country, the United States of America, if that doesn't function the way that it's supposed to, it doesn't mean, none of that other stuff means anything to me. And I would gladly, and I do mean this with the utmost sincerity, I would gladly lay all that other stuff on an altar. Mm-hmm. If I could just ensure that the people that come after me, whether that's my nieces or my friends' kids, if they could be more free than what we are right now. And I don't have any reason to believe this. I have no reason to feel that way, right? I have no reason to feel the way that at any given moment I would be willing to do this. But I am. Mm-hmm. I am willing to do it. And I can't lose in the next 30 years the freedoms that I've lost in the last 30 years and expect everything to be hunky-dory. I don't want to be a 70-year-old man wishing, back in the day, if I would have just stood up, it would have been different. No, I don't want to be the Uncle Rico. Mm-hmm. And I don't want to be anything other than somebody that helps other people reclaim the heritage of what it means to be an American. And I've lived a fulfilling life, man. In almost 40 years, I've lived 100 lifetimes, right? Mm-hmm. So I have nothing. I have nothing else that I want to achieve. I have nothing else that I I don't want to make a buttload of money. I don't want to have all this, go to all these little functions and everybody shake your hand. I don't want any of that. What I want is I want the people that come after me to live unmolested, man. Yeah. I don't want them to be slaves to this federal leviathan and this weird ideology that everything's acceptable all the time and that you can be anything you want at any given moment. That's absurd. It's demonic. And I've told people this all the time, man. Like, if you question my patriotism and if you question the degree that I'm willing to lay my life down for my country, and I don't mean the land, and I don't even mean I mean the principles that found this country. If you doubt this for 1 second, I've already done it. I've stood up to tyrannical government on this soil before. Mm-hmm. I've armed up and went out and did it in defense with people I didn't even know, but I went out there for principles. So, if people have any doubt about that whatsoever, I think that we need to reflect on this as individuals and reflect on this as family and friends, because this is the vessel. Without this country, we don't have the ability to do anything else, man.
Yeah.
We don't have the ability. We don't have the family doesn't mean anything. The Second Amendment doesn't mean anything unless it's respected. The First Amendment doesn't mean anything unless it's respected. The Fourth, the Fifth, on and on we go up to the entire Bill of Rights. It doesn't mean anything unless it's actually respected. And unfortunately, I think that we're coming to a point where it's this it's going to be decision time, and it's going to be decision time probably within our lifetimes, I would say.
Yeah. By the way, if you said earlier you're not an artist. I got to tell you, man, I believe that you're an artist. If you think back, you're a history teacher. If you think back to the first art we saw, what was it? Drawings on cave walls, right? What did they draw? What were they drawing on there? What were they showing? They were showing people how to hunt, how to defend themselves. So I feel like we are artists. That's why I do this. That's why I do it, and that's why you're here. That's why you have your channel and you do the things that you do. That's why you're a teacher. But these things will live after us. Hopefully that our brothers and sisters and sons and daughters that come after us live in a better world and not a worse world. But regardless of the world that they live in, we're trying to leave our mark on the cave walls so they can have some kind of roadmap, right? That's what this is about.
Yeah. I'm grateful. I'm grateful for it all. I look back on all the times when, I could have been killed. And, I look back on all the times where, this is entirely borrowed time. And I'm just grateful for every day. I'm grateful for every opportunity that I get to maybe even influence this. And I'll tell you a story. A couple months ago it happened. I was speaking in front of a large audience in Virginia. It wouldn't be the first time. I've spoken in Virginia several occasions, and they're my neighbors. I can see them from my property. Mm-hmm. And I remember after I spoke in front of like 500 people. It was a lot of people in this auditorium, and this young girl came up to me, and which is cool because I've always had a connection with like teenagers when I was teaching high school, like whether they're 15, 16, 17, 18 years old. I've always had this connection with them because they're very receptive to reality, I think, in that age bracket. And this young girl, she came up to me, and there's a lot of people that I was talking to afterwards. They shook her hand, and it was great. Don't get me wrong, I enjoy it, but the one person that stood out was this young teenage girl. I think she was like 16. Yeah, she told me she was 16 years old, and just a very unique young lady. And she told me, she said, I just want to let you know, like, I normally can't listen to anybody talk for more than like a minute or two, and then I just like zone out, She goes, I listened to what you had to say, and I made up my mind tonight, that I'm willing to do whatever it takes to keep this country free. And for me to keep my bearing in that moment, dude, it took all the discipline that I've had to learn the last 20 years, man, 21 years. Mm-hmm. I didn't want to break down, because you got all these people around you. And so I didn't. And, I kind of kept my bearing, and I kept it inside. And I kind of looked at her stunned. I looked at her just like almost like you got hit by lightning. And I looked at her and I said, if every American gun owner had a tenth of your resolve right now, we would have been a free country a long time ago. And you've shown me more courage than all the loudmouths, all the idiot ammo buyers and gun buyers. And I looked at her and I said, you're somebody special, and I don't ever want you to lose that fire that you've got inside you right now. And I'll never and see, that's just one of many moments, Hank, that mm-hmm. people have done this, in my that's just one of many moments. But I've got a 16-year-old girl with more guts than the biggest FUD in the United States of America.
Gives you hope for the future, man.
That's all they do. That's all the high school students that I taught ever did. I still talk to so many of them. They call me, they email me, they text me. I still talk to all these, and they're in their early 20s now. And so, like, they rejuvenate me, man, and like a non-vampiristic, kind of thing. And like rather than like sucking their life force away from them, they give me that hope. And I look at this younger group of people, and I'm like, wow, like, it reminds me of so many people in my generation. I'm a Gen Xer, and I'm sure you are too, but I mean, it gives me this whole like rejuvenation, like the the ones that came after us. Although there's so many good millennials out there, there's horrible ones as well. I mean, they're worse than the hippies. At least the hippies are trying to expand rights for other people. These millennials are trying to take them away. The statist leftist ones, like the Bernie voters.
Mm-hmm.
But I look at so many good people out there, and I realize there's so many good people in this country, and so I don't get down about it. I don't get depressed, and I don't think that the solution is to bug out and leave this country. I think leadership is sorely needed, and even my parents, God, I love them to death, and they're wonderful people and hardworking, and they taught me so many of my values. But my parents, they tell me all the time, they're like, son, like what you say to people, what you do, it matters, and so I didn't want to be in this role. I didn't want to be, I thought I had another 10, 15 years before it would be this, but it's scary, man. And not scary as in like, a shutdown way. I look at it as like an oddball thing, and it's I should say sudden. It's a very sudden thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's weird.
Yeah. Well, when your calling comes, you have to either take the call or not, But once you take it, you're connected to it. It's a thing that you have to do. Listen, I don't want to, I mean, I could keep doing this, but I don't want to. I mean, I don't want to, I know, it's dark out there. You're cold. There's people like, oh, Reid's cold.
I'm not cold. I'm warm. Like I said, told you about the Lord Nelson. The zeal for his country kept him warm. But 2 hours went by in the blink of an eye, man.
Yeah,
I mean,
absolutely, it did. And what I'm gonna do is, I'm sure that this video is bifurcated now. It's like in two pieces and probably one piece. I don't know. We might never get it back, but I do have that video here. Hopefully, if all the software works properly. So what I'll do for folks who are looking at this, and this is a shorter version, if they let this one live out there, I'll put those two things together before I leave here tonight, and I'll make sure that I get that up, and I'll rip out the audio and all that kind of stuff. And when I get a chance, I'll make some snippets out of this and throw it up as well. Just because I think there's a lot of wisdom here, and I know that it needs to go out in the world. But I don't want to wrap this up until we ask about Patriot Nurse. How's Rachel doing?
She's good, man. She's good. I mean, she was traveling. I mean, she went out and she's a traveler, man. She's like this world traveler person, and she enjoys it. She enjoys it like 100,000 times more than I do, and so
she's got her own power too. I mean, she's got her own calling too. So
yeah, she's I mean, she's an amazing person. I think like. For a person like her, she's definitely unique, and she's got her own connection with things. I'm not nearly as outgoing as she is. I'm a very private person. I've always have been a private person, and she's much more extroverted than me. She's a lot nicer person than I am, and I'm nice until I can't be nice anymore. I mean, I'll throw hands at the drop of a hat, man.
Yeah. I've seen Patriot Nurse, she's handle business when she has to also.
She will, man. She's just very reluctant to do it, and I mean, she's just, she's a much kinder soul than me. She's and she's probably a lot more spiritual, man. But like, for me, I love the Lord. I love God. I love, this country. But, I recognize, for me, it's my role is definitely going to be the person that prepares people for all this. And her role is to prepare in her own way and to prepare other people in her own way. But, I don't have any illusions of living to be 70, 80, 90 years old. I wouldn't want to do that. I'm in great shape now. I'm feeling wonderful. I want to live a full life, but in the words of Colonel Travis, I'd rather live 1 hour as a lion than a lifetime as a lamb.
Okay, good one. Okay, so here I'm gonna wrap this up here for the folks. Like I said, before I do that, what can the people do out there who want to follow up with you more? Or maybe want to communicate with you after this or take a class or something like that? How can those folks do that? And also, how can they support you?
Oh,
help you
I'm
out.
not. Yeah, and I appreciate that. I appreciate the plug, man. I'm not looking for support. I just, people want to come out and take a class. Go to valoridge.com and look at what we have. I mean, what you invest in yourself is going to be there for a lifetime. And so, obviously our classes, there's no substitute for that. And Facebook, you can follow me on that. And if you want to get the books, I mean, they're available on Amazon. And other than that, I'm not, I don't look for any support. I just,
I know you don't.
I'm,
I know you don't. But I know there's folks out there who do also, want to do something to contribute to what you're doing, man.
oh,
I know those folks are out there, and I invite people to do that. Reach out to him, take a class out there, get the book, follow him on YouTube. He's always got some very inspirational videos. I look at your stuff all the time, man. I don't look at a lot of gun things that are going on just because it will drive me crazy with all the editing that I'm doing about gun stuff. But every now and then I'm like, oh, Reid put up a thing. I think I might need to stop and take a look at this.
no, I appreciate it.
So.
I don't, I can't, I mean, I don't upload as much as I can. I mean, keep in mind, my internet speed when I'm out at my place is generally like 30 kilobytes a second. So it takes me all day to upload a video. Fortunately, at Tyler's tonight,
Yeah.
and so that's why
Yeah.
I was able
Big
to
shout out to Tyler.
Yeah, he wants a shout out, man.
For providing the internet over here. We appreciate you, Tyler. We got to get this guy on here. Thanks a lot, Tyler. We appreciate it, man.
Yeah, I appreciate you, man. I'm a big fan of the show. I love you guys, so I love what you do, man.
Awesome. Thank you, Tyler. I really do appreciate that. All right, so we're gonna wrap this. I'm sorry. What was Tyler saying? What did he just say,
man?
I said just keep doing what you're doing. You're awesome.
Absolutely. Thank you, brother. Will do. All right. So listen, guys, we're going to get out of here. I'm not going to do a show tomorrow. I'm going to do stuff with Sam Andrews. I'll see you guys on Monday. I just really want to thank my brother, Reid Henrichs, for coming in, man. It's been a long time. I need to get out there and do some training with you. I think once we get through all of this, I'll make a road trip. I'll bring one of my crazy rides up there.
Dude, and you got some crazy ones, man. You got some crazy. You're like, I'm not like a sports car guy, but you made me think about it. I mean, I'm not gonna do it, but you made me think about it.
Okay, all right, yeah. I'm crazy about cars, man. So I'm always flipping through them. Trust me, you don't even want to know. Lola is like, seriously, you got an issue. But listen, I really do appreciate you, man. Thanks so much for coming on. Stay safe out there. Keep doing what you're doing. Please keep motivating and educating the folks out there, okay?
Hey, that's a guarantee, man. And as long as I'm conscious and awake and alive, it's going to happen.
Awesome. Yeah, so guys, I want to thank Harry's Holsters for sponsoring us. I want to thank all you guys for being here. Make sure you go to hankstrange.com. Sign up for our email list. We're giving away stuff on there. You can figure out all the different ways to support us and stuff like that. Stay right there, Reid. I'm going to drop the end of the video. Thanks, everyone. Be safe. We'll see you on the other side of this. Here, let me drop the end. Also, I'm going to talk over the end. Make sure you guys subscribe, thumbs up, ring the bell so you can be notified. We're on audio, so you can get us on iTunes, Podbean, Spreaker, Spotify, all that kind of good stuff where you get these things. You can find us there. Thanks so much to everyone. Reid, stay right there. Guys, we're out. Peace. See ya.